Welcome to another episode of the Rank 'em Podcast. I'm Garrett. I'll be your host. Thanks for joining us. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube at Rank 'em Podcast, or wherever it is you listen to your podcast, whether that's Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Podcast Addict, wherever it is. Give us a 5-star review, like, share, subscribe, however you can help us out. We would certainly appreciate it. Joining me today, as always, is my co-host, Don Garwood. I forgot to unmute.
I don't have anything funny to say today.
All right, so that should bode well for this episode. And joining us also today is our good friend, Keiquan Blackman.
What's poppin'?
So Keiquan doesn't have anything fun to say either. It's going to be a long day. Buckle up.
Also, leave us a review. You'll get featured.
Yes.
Possibly. As long as it's a 5-star review. We don't accept non-5-star
He
reviews.
said if it's a 4-star review, we're safe for work, so you can just forget yourself.
Right, yeah.
You can forget yourself.
You can go and love yourself.
We got bleep buttons. But yeah, no, if it's not 5 stars, get it out of here.
Right. We only accept 5 stars.
You can keep that to yourself.
Send it to Zach.
No, don't even do it. If it ain't 5,
Ooh, that's true.
get it out.
If you absolutely hate it, 5 stars.
And then tell us how bad it is. Right. Yes, please.
We'll have to read it then, too.
So, on top of that, I would like to say that I've recently watched Hoosiers this week.
Oh, yes. Because you are of the persuasion that it is overrated, but you'd never seen it.
Right.
The whole thing.
I'm actually of that persuasion myself.
You haven't seen it either?
Nope.
Okay, so I finally watched it this week over the course of 2 nights because, the power went out Monday or Tuesday night, and then it just wouldn't buffer past the point that I was already at. So then I finished it the following night. It's a good movie. Still overrated. It's not the best sports movie of all time.
Because that's Remember the Titans.
It probably still wouldn't make my top 5. It probably wouldn't make my honorable mentions.
And that's fine. I've grown to expect people to be wrong. So it's
I just think that it's for you. It's mostly the nostalgia factor from when you watched it as a kid, but watching it now, there's a lot better sports movies out there.
Moneyball?
Name 31. Exactly. No, I win.
Remember the Titans?
I'm not even going to give you the option.
Friday Night Lights.
Friday Night Lights.
So this week on the Rank 'em Podcast, we're going to rank
Gilmore.
our favorite Happy Gilmore. I was thinking Gilmore Girls there.
Golden Girls.
Where you lead,
I actually love
I
Gilmore
will
Girls.
Oh, it's great. It's
Still
phenomenal.
haven't seen the Gilmore Girls.
Oh, it's
I had a
great.
crush on Rory when I was a kid, Alexis Bledel.
She's not doing anything these days. We could probably get her on the podcast. Maybe get her to do a cameo for us. Hey, it's Rory.
Hi.
That's all I do.
She make sure she says hello, Keiquan. Like, hey.
I'll work on. Hello, Rank 'em Podcast and Keiquan. So
Specifically just
today you can cut it. Today we are going to rank our 5 favorite adult cartoons, which
Like Stripperella. So
During
I am unfamiliar with that one.
it's Pamela Anderson as a stripper and also like a CIA agent
like superhero.
or superhero type thing.
I did not know
It
that
was on
existed.
Spike TV back in the day.
Lasted about 6 episodes.
That sounds about right. That sounds about right. So yeah, that's what we're ranking today.
Still like on regular TV cartoon type stuff, not where you have to go to special websites to find adult cartoons.
Not extra
Yes.
raunchy is what we're saying.
Okay. I never thought of that, but I think that is you could find that stuff if that's what you're into. That's not what we're into today. None of our stuff is X-rated or would be on any hubs or or anything like that. So, Keiquan, as our very esteemed guest, I will let you go first in ranking your number 5 favorite adult cartoon.
Perfect. So I just want to as a disclaimer, most of us probably our exposure to adult cartoons started with Adult Swim on Cartoon Network when we were younger. Maybe unless you had parents that let you watch The Simpsons, which I did not. So for me, mine is the one I enjoyed the most, and it starts with bark, 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 bark.
So why? Oh, from Adult Swim that you enjoyed the most. I was like, why is the thing that you enjoyed the most your number 5?
Robot Chicken.
I knew what Robot Chicken was.
Well, maybe our listeners did not know that he was talking about Robot Chicken.
No, but he said This is the one that I enjoyed the most.
Not necessarily
number
enjoyed
5.
the most, obviously, because it's number 5, but thoroughly enjoyed it. I always hated that Robot Chicken episodes were like so
15
short.
minutes.
Right, I was gonna say they're 15 minutes and they bang 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 bang.
Like, but
bang,
like
bang.
I think the thing that got it for me was just the fact of like how random they would go.
Yeah, they're hilarious.
Like my favorite episode, in case anybody ever wants to watch this, is just look up the Robot Chicken Mario Grand Theft Auto episode.
Oh, that's so good. That really is a really good clip.
To this day, I could literally laugh and cry at the end of it. Like, it's so ridiculous. I love it.
No, Luigi, he's marinating in his own ragu.
You guys want some mushrooms? Yes.
Raccoon City. Oh my gosh,
Such a good one.
Such a good. Like, I have Robot Chicken on my honorable mention, and that clip is by far my favorite clip on Robot Chicken. Have you seen it, Garrett?
I don't remember that specific. I don't think any specific Robot Chicken stuff. But I do love, like, it's perfect for my stupid ADHD brain because the jokes last 13 seconds and then they're on to the next one.
My favorite would be like, also, I can't remember, like you said, like I can't think of any like specific episodes because they're just like random.
Right,
like,
they're 15 minutes, and so they're already super
like
short.
30 clips packed in,
and they just pump through them.
But like some of them would just like hit you, like you would like be 2 episodes further ahead or past whatever like portion of that episode, and you would still be laughing at
that stupid joke that
and it was
ridiculous.
For anybody who hasn't seen this show, it's all claymation, which makes it just so much better. It's ridiculous. I highly recommend. That is my number 5.
I think it's impressive because they it has to be funny. Like, you have to put the best of the best because you're only 15 minutes and it's only, like 15-second jokes. So it's got to be good to even make it in the episode. So that's like, it's so great. Like, the premise of the entire show is phenomenal. So that's Keiquan's number 5. Don, what about you?
So at my number 5, I have got Archer. Started on FX, and I mean, really, I haven't seen the last season. Like so they started. So they worked for a company called ISIS, and then ISIS happened, so they like did where ISIS got disbanded, and they became like kind of like renegade agents who don't really work for the government anymore. And then they did a season where they like went back into like the 40s and stuff like that. And that's right around the time that I stopped watching because I think that's how far they had it on like Netflix at the time. But Archer is ridiculously funny, and he has so many quotes.
One-liners, man.
Right. Danger zone. Woodstock is really funny in that as well. His butler. I'm trying to think of Lana.
God, what is her name?
Lana might be my favorite.
Lana's
favorite
my
character.
I'm trying to think of the actress.
I was gonna say, I was like, what is her name? Like, I know H. John Benjamin.
He's the voice for Arby's.
Aisha Tyler.
Yes. And Arby's, we have the meats.
What does that have to do with Aisha Tyler?
I was thinking about H. John Benjamin, who's in the Arby's commercials now. Also, his face does not match his voice.
No.
And Archer's his like real kind
it's
of
his normal voice. Well, he's also like Bob's Burgers, and then I've never watched Bob's Burgers. Very much of it. It might be on someone's list. I don't know, but when I have seen a little bit of it, it's like that. It's Archer's voice. That really doesn't fit Bob either. But yeah, I got Archer at 5.
So my number 5, and I assume that this will be much higher on your lists, and I will probably catch just flack from hell in the reaction show. I have South Park at 5, and the only problem I have with South Park, and the only reason that doesn't make it higher, is it's really hard to go back and watch them later because they're so topical. because they're making them week by week by week by week, that whatever is going on in the news that week. The last time I saw it, like just randomly on Comedy Central playing, it was some episode from 2011 that was like I had to research what in the world they were talking about, like because whatever the news story that they were making fun of just didn't, like I had no recollection of it whatsoever, and I was like, this is stupid. Like because those guys are so funny, they are so outstanding, but if you don't catch it like that week, you might have no idea what in the hell they're talking about if you try to watch it like 3 weeks later. Like, so that's my only like downfall of South Park.
Their episodes are super topical, and like you said, they like make them that week. And there's I think we're several episodes that it's like when it started airing, we weren't done with it yet.
Which is bonkers to me that like you are like they're that cutting it that close. But when you want it to be that topical,
and when you can get away with it. I mean, I took German in high school, and at the end of the year, you had to turn in your notebook that had all of each day. The teacher would walk in and write something on the board in German, and you're supposed to copy the message down and translate it to English. I didn't do that, but last day of school, when that was due, I would go in, get somebody else's notebook, and copy all of their stuff down. So you're copying like 200 days worth of notes down. But as long as you put on every Friday, heute ist Freitag.
Gott sei Dank, es ist Freitag.
Heute ist Freitag. Gott sei Dank.
You were good.
I don't actually speak German.
Today
is Friday, thank God.
Thank God, basically.
So you just every Friday. Heute ist Freitag. Gott sei Dank.
Gott sei Dank.
And I could get away with it. Like for German 1, I had German like 9th period. Finished that binder by 9th period, turned it in. Next year I had German 5th period, finished it by 5th period, turned it in. Next year, 3rd period German.
Ooh, that's big problem.
2-hour delay. Got it turned in time.
But
I got it turned in on time.
You could have missed.
And I got away with it. So you got to push that envelope a little further, and that's what Matt and Trey are doing.
To do that, think about having to crunch that out every week. You're like,
well, that's why they split it into 2 like half seasons instead of like 12 episodes back to back to back to back. Now it's like 6 and 6 or 5 and 5 because that crunch was killing them, and they wanted to do like Book of Mormon.
Well, but like you're just like, hey, is this? I'm bleeding from whenever I like burp. Is that a problem? Yeah, that's a stomach ulcer, big guy. You might be carrying too much stress. So, but that whole process being worked out in a week, when other cartoons go to. When they do like Dora the Explorer, they got a season of that. They got all 32 episodes done, ready to go before season 1 hits. South Park, it could be a half hour before the episode's on the air, and they're like, "Yeah, we're almost done." What?
Right.
What do you mean you're almost done?
Then it has to go through like the censor board and all of that stuff.
Which I'm sure that's probably like they're like
that's got to be hilarious.
Well, the censor board is probably like we can't like this is the one step we can't skip.
They literally
like this is
basically the censor board is just a lawyer. Just
I think that. Well, I did remember. Did you ever watch like the
6 days to air?
Yeah. And they're like, "Hey, can we say this?" No. You can say it if you removed this. You can say that.
If you say it this way, or if you say.
You gotta have a good lawyer, man. Good lawyer.
But they like give it to the censor board, and the censor board watches it like 5 minutes ahead of what the audience is watching it. So as he is watching it, he's laughing and hitting the censor button.
So that's my number 5. I'm sure we'll talk about that more coming up. Keiquan, what's your number 4?
All right. So my number 4 is a show that I never really paid too much attention to. For honestly, probably years. And then it got on Netflix, and of course, it made me go down the rabbit hole. Futurama. I feel like it is very, very, as far as like adult cartoons go, it's very underrated. I love it.
See, I hate Futurama. I can never get in. Even like,
why is Zoidberg?
I think for some of the, like, I can't get into Futurama, and I'm probably just shit talking some of your lists. I can't get into Futurama. I can't get into American Dad, the Cleveland Show, like any of the offshoots of the, like, Seth MacFarlane, Matt Groening. Like, we hit it big with these specific cartoons, and then somebody's going to pay us to try these ones too. I can't get into them. I don't know if I'm, like, the premise of Futurama is just like, what the hell am I watching? Which is hypocritical because everything, like every other stupid cartoon on my list, the premise of that is dumb too. But Futurama and American Dad and Keiquan Show and what's the live action Seth MacFarlane, the
Ted?
No. the TV show or the space thing.
Oh,
yeah. I couldn't get into that.
I like the Orville.
Oh, yeah.
No.
I couldn't get into that.
I like Star Trek.
I don't like Star Trek.
I love Star Trek. I love Star Wars.
I like the
too.
Orville. It's funny.
So I couldn't get into any of that stuff.
I just feel like you're missing out, man.
I probably am.
Because Futurama is hilarious. It's got a bunch of like good zingers. And then also the fact of like meme culture. I'm a meme guy.
Give me my money.
And
or
so,
shut
like,
up and take my money.
Shut up and take my money. You know? There's just great memes from it.
Don, you gave Keiquan kind of like a I don't know what that look was.
I was really like uncomfortable.
Was a stink eye
I was getting it
or...
from both of you at the same time.
Well, like that's just
you're
my
getting
eye.
a lazy
That's
eye.
just my eye. Yeah, that's
messed
just my eye.
I mean, I don't know if it's going to wait till the reaction show or not, but
just let it out.
We'll sprech and see about Futurama.
Sprechen Sie Deutsch.
That's Don's on the German kick today.
I just put myself on blast for cheating during German class. I got to show what I do know.
Hey, Frau, whatever her name is.
Frau Mosser. Her son, the doctor.
Dr.
Mosser.
Don, what is your number fear?
Ooh.
Yeah.
Quattro.
So my number 4. My number 4, and I know Garrett's going to have this higher on his list, is Hank of the Hill. King of the Hill, if you want to be a real stickler about it.
About what things are actually called.
I did not like King of the Hill when I was younger at all. Like when it was actually on its original run, I did not like King of the Hill.
Because it's not funny.
And eventually, like I think they brought it back for like a last season.
They had like canceled it, like it was like this is going to be the last year, and then Fox was like, "Hey, by the way, you want to do another season?" They're like, "No."
They're like,
"Well, we're gonna pay you for it." And they're like, "Okay, that's fine."
Damn it, Bobby.
I think about the time they did their last season, it might have been, I don't know if it got dropped on Netflix or what it was, but
I think Hulu.
I was able to binge through quite a bit of it and kind of started to enjoy it a little bit more. I always liked Dale.
Yeah.
Rusty Shackelford is amazing in his pocket sand.
Pocket sand. There is a great... So Johnny Hardwick is the guy who plays Dale Gribble in King of the Hill. He has a YouTube channel where where Johnny Hardwick, the actual guy, will talk about conspiracy theories he believes, but does it in the Dale Gribble voice. Or he sang Rocket Man by Elton John, but instead changed the words Rocket Man to Pocket Sand. Like, pocket sand, pocket sand. And he sang his Dale Gribble.
Boomhauer. See,
Boomhauer, man. You're going to
There was a Boomhauer, pretty heavy Boomhauer episode where they go to like the water park and he like surfs on the infinity pool thing. Yep. That was a really good episode because that was a very Boomhauer centric episode, and there weren't very many of those.
No,
but I think I always hated Peggy as a kid, and I think she was on my TV moms one.
We'd done that Mother's Day special. She was one of the TV moms you just hated.
Yes, every like a Peggy centric episode. The only one that's any good is the Scrabble Boggle Championship. That one was actually pretty good. Usually, other than that, if it's a Peggy heavy episode, I'd skip it.
See, maybe it's just like because that show is like not meant for like me.
It's not FUBU.
It's not meant for me. So like
Not
maybe I just don't get it. Like I never like he does propane. I'm just like it's not funny. Like
there's soot under my boy's fingernails. You don't get soot from a propane.
You don't get
the rich smoky flavor either.
I was thinking there's an episode where Dale Gribble's dad is gay, and Hank finds him. He's a rodeo clown, and Dale's dad says, "Hank, are you gay?" And he goes, "I sell propane." As if that's like a straight disqualifier for of course I'm not gay. I sell propane.
Hank's dad's really funny. And then there's the episode where they go to Korea, and Hank has Japan, and Hank's brother's there. When they run into each other, he goes, "Whoa!"
And that's the end of the episode. I think that's the end of the season. And then they come next season. The next season, the very first episode is them continuing. So, yeah, we'll talk about that more coming up. My number 4, which we talked about just briefly, I think Bob's Burgers is so horribly underrated. Like, it is really, really funny. And
so I've been told I need to watch it.
It's not just one person, like one character that's funny. There are a lot of funny pieces to Bob's Burgers.
I gotta watch it, man.
It's really, really funny. And I haven't seen a ton of Archer, so I was the opposite way of you, Don, that you were like, you watch Bob's Burgers, you're like, well, that's Archer. And when I tried to watch Archer, I'm like, well, that's Bob from Bob's Burgers. Huh? Like, all I'm seeing is like, you're all terrible. That's what I hear. So I'm the exact opposite of you. But a lot of the characters are played by stand-up comedians,
right?
So they have really great timing, like to begin with, and they understand like reading the script where to make that funny. And like I just had it's so well written and it's so poorly drawn, like it's so poorly animated, but the writing is so good in it, and it's super super funny.
I know Tina likes butts.
Tina likes butts. She likes butts a lot.
I know the younger sister is she's pretty good at like manipulating stuff.
Yeah. But she's Kristen Shaw is who plays Louise, and she's really funny because she's kind of this strong-willed leader, but she's, a 12-year-old girl at the end of the day that people you don't always respect. And it's like she's the only girl in the family who's played by a female voice actor. Like Tina is played by a male voice actor. That's like really weird.
The her voice is real
right.
Good.
Yeah. Oh my god,
I forgot about that.
So the mom is played by a dude. It's just so inherently funny to me, and I hate to like hype that up to people because it's really kind of dry and subtle. Because there's not a laugh track or anything like that. So people are like, well, Garrett said this is really funny. I'm like, well, you got to listen. It's not just one just sit in the background to have something on.
It's like King of the Hill.
It's very similar humor to King of the Hill.
Very dry.
Yes. So that is my number 4. Don, I'll send it back to you around what is that? Clockwise? I don't know. If that's clock, I don't know.
Back to me.
Back to Don for number 3. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Number 3,
Good
Don.
morning, Vietnam.
That's a really good movie. Like, it's a really underrated Robin Williams movie.
Stopping his drink. That's good.
My number 3 is Rick and Morty. And Rick and Morty kind of gets a bad rap for some of the fans of the show.
They're the worst.
And there was a meme for it where it's like, well, to be fair, you have to be very smart to understand what's happening in Rick and Morty. But an intellectual such as myself has no problem understanding the jokes. So there's a meme where people would just put that under comments. Right. Or like, I don't understand what's happening. And it really caught popularity when they did the Szechuan sauce episode.
I'm Pickle Rick.
I don't find Pickle Rick funny.
I don't find that funny at all, but I thoroughly enjoy some.
And my favorite clip from the show, I think it's actually a season 1 clip, is so Rick and Morty are in the garage and they're working on something, and Rick gives Morty, like, just wants Morty to back away or like leave him alone. So he gives him this helmet that allows him to talk to animals or understand what animals are saying. And he's walking down the street and there's like a ladybug sitting on the street and he's listening to it. And then he hears squirrels up in a tree and it's like, the situation in Argentina has changed dramatically. It's like, oh, well, we need to put some more men on that and do this and do this. And it's like, the squirrels look over and they see Morty's just staring at him. And he goes, we got a possible Doolittle over here. And Morty starts walking away, and the squirrels are like, little boy, can you hear us? We'll give you candy if you can hear us. And then there's all of a sudden like 50 and 100 squirrels chasing after him as he's sprinting down the road. And gets back to the garage, and he's like, Rick, you got to help me. He's like, oh, I told you not.
It's always, you gotta help me, Rick.
Oh God, Rick!
I told you not to.
I told you not to fuck with squirrels, Morty. We gotta leave. This universe is fucked. We gotta leave. Get your shit.
So I have Rick and Morty on my honorable mention just because I haven't, like, I started to watch it right as like quarantine started, and I banged through I think like 8 or 9 episodes, and it was really, really funny. I love what's Morty's dad's name?
Jerry.
Yep. And the I got to the episode where he blows up the like alien universes or whatever, and he's sailing back to Earth, and he's like, play that song, the and then they play it on the credits, but it's so well made. Like,
really is.
It is really, really funny.
I actually have Rick and Morty as my number 3 as well.
Who's the creator of Rick and Morty?
Oh,
Dan Harmon
and Justin Roiland.
Yeah. And I'll let you talk about it real quick, but while I got this in my head, I have to say it. So at the very end credits, so Dan Harmon got like divorced in between like season 1 and season 2. So at the end of season 1 credits, it had like him, his wife, and his dog sitting on a couch, like cartoon pictures of them. And then after he got divorced, it was just him like laying down, depressed, drunk on his couch.
I did not know that.
That's a little depressing.
Keiquan's like, well, now I'm sad.
I will say with Rick and Morty, obviously some of the fan base is a little bit annoying, as Don mentioned earlier. Like, I think of like when McDonald's ran out of Szechuan sauce, and there's people like, I remember videos like people jumping on tables yelling, "I'm Pickle Rick," and I'm just like, oh God, like,
no,
don't do that.
I want to enjoy this show, but I don't want to be lumped in with you.
Yeah, like, please don't do that. So now I can't claim that with like a T-shirt or anything. But their soundtrack is fantastic as well. Like, I love the random artists that they'll have do like songs and whatever just randomly inside the episodes. I will say love the rap duo Run the Jewels. They have a Run the Jewels
Show me what you got
music video where it's just Rick and Morty.
I did not know.
Great.
Who's the famous person that they got to do that song where the giant heads come in to the house and it's like, show me what you got, and they're like in intergalactic like American Idol, but the loser gets their planet blown up?
Oh man,
they had like it was Ice-T, I think.
Yeah.
For some reason, every like musician on Earth got like captured except for Ice-T, or got killed or something. It's like Ice-T is the only one available. He's like, we could do this. We've got Ice-T. That's all we need.
It's I like how like it's kind of low key topical, but not quite. I also like that I like that they slowly like expanded on like giving us more episodes with like background on the family. So not just Rick and Morty and Jerry, but like literally everybody.
Like
Summer heavy episodes are actually pretty good.
Yeah.
Summer whatever. I find Summer oddly attractive. I knew that was going to be your, like, for a cartoon character, I'm like, we talked about at the start of the episode. You can find those videos if you want. I haven't searched those videos out, but it's just like, I'm uncomfortable watching this because I'm into that.
So I've watched Rick and Morty on an airplane before, like just on my Surface.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't recommend it if someone's sitting beside you, because just some of the stuff that happens in that, like if they look over, it's like, what the fuck is going on there?
Yeah,
and it's always just something like super inappropriate that's happening on that show.
Nope, I think you're. I think that's fair.
It's always really awkward, or like you get the person that's like really loves it, and they're just like,
what episode do you want?
So it's like, there's a.
You see what happened after? It's like, no.
Keiquan, you got to talk into the mic, man.
Well, no, that was.
You know, I'm sorry.
There's a really funny like anime meme where it's like, when I'm watching anime all by myself, and it's like people fighting. It's like, as soon as my roommate walks in, it's like two people having sex.
Right, just gigantic.
What are you watching?
This is smut. Yeah, I feel
You're watching hentai.
pretty much. So Rick and Morty is Don and Keiquan's number 3. My number 3, I've got Family Guy. And in our house growing up, we watched like the original 2 seasons of Family Guy, and I thought that stuff was good. And then they got canceled. And one of my favorite bits on the show is the very first scene from season 1 or season 3, episode 1, where they talk about like, can't we ever come back to Fox? And they're like, only if they get rid of, and they just run like, only if these, like, and they go through like 25 shows, only if all those shows tank. And it's like, they're making fun of themselves, but they're also making fun of the company that dropped them and brought them back. I would guess we'll talk about Family Guy more coming up, but it has, I think, jumped the shark a bit. I think when they killed off Brian and then brought him back the next week, and we're like, oh wait, by the way, nothing. It was a stupid ploy to get you to watch. Like, oh, okay, so you're out of ideas. you're out of stuff now. Good to know. Good to know. So I haven't watched many of the new episodes but they still have that like once an episode, just laugh out loud, like pause because I'm gonna miss the next minute because I'm laughing so hard I'm about to piss my pants. Bits in every.
And then there's just like the random things. Like I found out who Conway Twitty was.
Oh yeah,
courtesy of that. And I was like, so are they playing the whole song? Oh, they're really gonna play. They're gonna do
song. Hello, darling.
Yeah, and that stuff's funny. Or like the chicken fights.
I love the chicken
or
fights.
The Peter.
The chicken fights are always really good.
Like the Peter.
That's not good. That's how you know that they need to stretch for time.
Well, no, I think what they're doing is the longer that they do it, they're like, this is funnier to us. Right. That we're just keep pulling this out. That you're like, okay, and commercial. And commercial. Yeah. And they just keep pulling it out like the chicken fights. They just see like, how long can we stretch this out? That people are like, Jesus Christ. Like, how long is he going to fight this chicken? So I think that's what they're doing. And like,
he's really trying to choke.
Everybody gets one. Tell him, Peter. Apparently, everybody gets one.
Everybody gets one, apparently. So that is that's my number 3. Since Keiquan didn't get to talk a whole ton for his number 3 because it just happened to be the same one as Don, what is your number 2?
Well.
Cool whip. Say cool. Say whip. No, say cool. Cool whip.
Will Wheaton.
Will Wheaton. Oh, do you know? I'm gonna have to look it up.
For people who don't get that reference, that is also a Family Guy reference.
That is also a Family Guy
Which is convenient because that's also my number 2.
We're stealing Keiquan's thunder like
crazy. Really stealing my thunder with the I can't do it. The whip.
Cool whip.
But Family Guy was probably the first like adult cartoon that I just thought was hilarious. Like now I don't watch it. I probably honestly haven't watched a new episode in like a couple years. I definitely don't keep up on it. Yeah. But I will tell you that show is just stupid funny with like the random stuff with it. Like I love random humor. You guys can tell like we're all random guys here with like our random references and stuff while we're doing our podcast. But there's just something about the Family Guy that like no matter how random it is, it just works.
And I think they know, like, especially when they're like, "This is worse than the time," and then they whatever.
And then they cut to a white screen. He's like, "Oh, I thought we were gonna do a flashback."
This is worse than the time my shirt got ruined by Michael J. Fox at that wine tasting. Hey, we thought that was a really inappropriate joke, and we're not going to share that.
Instead, here's
and
here's
then
Conway Twitty.
And then one time they're like, "Oh, actually, what's that?" I'm being told we are going to show you that. And then Michael J. Fox goes, "Oh my gosh, Peter!" It's like, holy crap! I can't believe they just did that joke.
I also realized like how much like random references I'll do to that show,
yeah.
And you don't realize it. Like earlier before the podcast, we were just all like talking and like singing random stuff, and I was singing like "You Got a Friend in Me" with Randy Newman, and as soon as I think of Randy Newman, I automatically think of Family Guy.
Oh, that
was the Y2K episode.
Oh, it's so it's so funny.
Like
the red-haired lady goes over to the apple tree.
She picked an apple.
She
Takes a bite. Chews it once. Twice. Now she's looking at Randy 3 times. Takes another look at me.
Like you would never think to reference a Randy Newman,
No.
or the Robert Loggia.
As in Robert Loggia.
Ellison, look over there, it's Robert Loggia. Just the random, and even there's some really obscure stuff that they referenced, like a commercial that ran for a month in 1984. In an episode a few years ago, and then we're looking on Twitter to see who got the joke, and they were amazed at how few people understood that reference. But if you watch, there are so many references to other movies or other TV shows or music or whatever it is that they just sneak in there that if you're not paying attention, you don't see.
The cast of characters is just phenomenal. I mean,
Adam West was always a pleasure on there.
Oh, absolutely.
Ooh, piece of candy.
He worked on so many different levels. He was so great because you don't think Adam West, you think Batman. when Adam West is
that's James Woods. The piece of candy is James Woods.
James Woods is a piece of candy. But Adam West, you think of you don't think of him as an actor in the show. He is an actor, so he's in on the joke. He gets it, but you just think he's this dumb bumbling moron that's the mayor of Quahog.
So good, love it.
It's spectacular, but I'm with you. I haven't watched the new episodes in
a
long while. So Don, what's on your number 2 spot?
So my number 2 is South Park, and the most recent quote that comes to mind that's appropriate enough to say is something that your brother Zach actually said on Facebook a couple weeks ago, and we both saw it.
It's so funny,
and he got a bunch of likes on it.
I was so proud of him.
It was
he's usually not funny at all.
South Park was "Hey, what's your favorite South Park quote?"
And all these people are they do our jobs,
right? And Zach put on there, he was like, Cartman doesn't know the difference between a rainforest and a Pop-Tart. And Cartman's quote is, "Yeah, I do. Pop-Tarts Pop-Tarts are frosted."
That's so stupid, but God, is that funny? Yeah, dude, Pop-Tarts are frosted. Oh, God.
The other one that I love is when he wants to be a NASCAR racer, and he's dipping Vagisil. He's like, I can turn left better than you can. No, you can't. Sorry, I wasn't born with a plastic spoon in my mouth.
There's a lot of great South Park.
But the reason that you kind of find it hard to watch is why I love it, is because it's so topical. And I'll go back and I'll watch them and I'll be like, oh, and kind of the same for you. It's like, what are they referencing here? Oh, Terry Schiavo. Or whatever it might be.
And it's
Michael
great.
Jackson shaking his baby over the
Thank you.
And that's part of why it's great is because they're not afraid to take on any subject. They will find any subject and make it really, really funny.
Even if it makes
Tom
their
Cruise
own
suing people.
Even if it makes their own actors uncomfortable. So they had made fun of essentially every religion, and then they had the Scientology episode. And the guy who voiced Chef was a Scientologist, and he's like,
Isaac Hayes.
Yeah.
Please don't do this. And they decided we made fun of every other religion. We're going to make fun of Scientology, and then he quit, and that was the last one.
Which
then he died shortly after.
I miss Chef so he was so great, and then they bring out
his chocolate salty balls.
They bring out his parents and. Goddamn Loch Ness Monster.
Tell him about the other time you saw him.
Damn it, woman, shut your mouth.
Damn it, woman, I was going to tell him. So, going to knock on the door, and a Girl Scout comes up, and she's selling cookies. And I said, how much are them cookies? She said about $3.50.
About $3.50.
She told me it was about $3.50. Well, it was about this time that I noticed that this Girl Scout was actually a monster from the Mesozoic area, about 60 feet tall. Oh, Lord, he was pissed. I said, damn it, get out of here, monster. Get out of here, Loch Ness Monster. I ain't buying no damn cookies.
Girl Scout cookies.
Oh, man. That is the.
I don't know why I kept coming around. No, that's probably because I gave him $350. Damn it, woman, you gave him another $350.
So,
His parents are so funny.
That was the first episode that I ever recall seeing of South Park.
Oh, really?
It was because my twin brother, we weren't allowed to, watch South Park.
Yeah, well.
But our room is in the basement, and my parents' room is on the second floor. So like,
you had 20 feet of room.
We had some good space to like.
What are the chances? You'll hear them if they're coming downstairs or whatever.
Literally, the floorboards crackled enough so that you could be like, oh, shoot, turn to Sports Center.
Flip it.
You knew you could just switch to Channel 3, boom, Matt immediately on Sports Center. So we'd watch it. And that's, Kier was watching it first. I'm like, we're not supposed to watch that. And he's just like quoting this episode. And I'm just like,
wait a second.
He's
like, it's on again. I'm like, okay, I'm going to watch it. And then,
See, I don't remember watching the TV show before I watched the movie Bigger, Longer, and Uncut.
Yeah,
I used to watch it all the time because Mom didn't know what it was. So we'd go and rent movies. They're like, I'm getting South Park Bigger, Longer, and Uncut for the 5th time this year so that I can watch it 3 times before we return the movie tomorrow.
On VHS.
Yeah. Be kind, please rewind. We had rewinders. Like, we had an actual rewinder so that your VCR didn't do it. You pop it out of the VCR, throw it in the rewinder, and watch your next tape.
Oh, how are things at the
Rich,
country club, Don?
You rich.
Wow.
Because
not only did he have HBO, he had a rewinder.
I just know that we weren't going to rewind
seconds.
it. Be kind, rewind.
I always was kind of rewound.
No, I'm not going to do that.
So the other thing about South Park is they have the Chewbacca defense is like a real thing that lawyers talk about now, where when you bring up something pointless, they'll be like, well, that's just the Chewbacca defense. And what that is it was the Johnny Cochran, it was another chef episode, and Johnny Cochran's like, Chewbacca is a Wookiee who lives on the planet Kashyyyk with a bunch of Ewoks. Or no, lives on Endor with a bunch of Ewoks. That does not make sense. How the hell does an 8-foot tall Wookiee live on Endor with a bunch of 3 feet tall Ewoks? It doesn't make sense. If Chewbacca doesn't make sense, you must have quit. Thank you.
Ooh.
And he won.
And they go, you didn't say anything.
But he won the lawsuit with it.
I am pretty impressed by that, actually.
But Chewbacca lived on Kashyyyk,
With
not Endor, so it doesn't make any sense. It does not make sense.
If the glove does not fit,
you must have quit.
You did it.
Sorry.
I also watched. So we were talking about the Saturday Night Live, and Keiquan sent us in our text message group, us like a 10-minute clip of Norm Macdonald
just
shitting on O.J. Simpson. And it was so funny.
So I put him in my top 5 because the bosses are like, could you please stop? And he's like, yeah, sure. And then they start doubling down on it.
Well, it just got better and better over time.
At some points, he's not even joking. He's just like, he's a murderer. And then just stares in the camera.
Did you watch the whole 11 minutes?
Yeah, I've seen it before.
Because the very, very last one where he's just like, well, the trial of the century is ending today, and OJ is either going to be convicted as a murderer or get completely off. Whatever he said, and you could just see like the depression in his eyes.
It's like, but just to have the berries to like you're the biggest boss at your company. It's like, hey, could you please stop that? He's a personal friend of mine. You're like, oh yeah, definitely. And then like we need to like triple down on these jokes.
Like I just like that. Just like, oh, you want me to stop?
Right. Oh, okay, yeah, certainly. We'll do that.
Adds another joke.
And he starts throwing references in wherever he can to OJ.
It is just like really the most unnecessary. Like just to
or just be like, the Buffalo Bills got killed by the Jets on Sunday.
Just like
Nicole
Brown Simpson got killed by Orenthal James Simpson. Oh, God.
People were wondering what went through. What's Nicole Simpson's? What was the other dude's name?
Ron Goldman.
People want to know what Ron Goldman's last thoughts were. It was probably, "Hey, you're O.J. Simpson."
You're exactly right.
Norm Macdonald really.
It's
that
so funny.
11 minutes was well spent.
Speaking of O.J. Simpson, you should watch the O.J. Simpson episode of not South Park, Family Guy.
Oh yeah.
So so good.
Where at the very end, Peter's like, "You guys have been mistreating him his whole for his whole life and blah blah blah." And then O.J. stabs a few people and runs away.
Oh, I guess he did do it.
Runs away. I guess he did do it. Now then, there's a Family Guy.
So good.
All right, Garrett, I think you're number 2.
Yeah, I was gonna say. So my number 2, which Don had talked about earlier, is King of the Hill. I love that dry, subtle comedy that like you have to find, not that it's just blatant out there. And King of the Hill is like the king of that. And I would do anything for a King of the Hill reboot right now, because I think in the age that we are living in, like everything that's going on in our world, I want to know what Dale Gribble thinks of COVID-19. I want to know what Hank Hill thinks about Donald Trump as the president. Like, there are some really, like, I would just die to hear some of that stuff, because it would be really, really funny.
Well, there was a bunch of people on Twitter.
Would Bobby be grown?
Maybe a couple months ago at this point.
Bobby would be in his, like, 30s.
That were talking about whether they thought Hank Hill would have voted for Donald Trump.
Yeah.
It's like, well, he almost didn't vote for George W. because he had a limp handshake.
Weak handshake. So, yeah, he's probably not voting for Donald Trump. But I would just appreciate hearing what their thoughts on it. Like, there's a great quote from an episode where Luann is looking for a job, and she's like, all of these jobs are racist against people with no skills. Like, and her being that stupid in 1997 perfectly translates to today. So I want to know what she thinks about all of this stuff, because it would be so funny to just have Hank look at her so condescendingly and so stupid. Like, oh my God, her vote counts the same just as mine.
Right.
But
would he be a manager by now?
No, hell no.
No, Ted Strickland would never let that happen.
Yeah, Buck Strickland.
Buck Strickland.
Yeah.
Ted Strickland.
Buck Strickland. Buck would probably be dead by now.
So he could take over.
He could
by
be.
default.
He could
Do
be.
they get like a rainbow jackets for some, like at the propane convention?
They get the flamer flamer of the year award,
Yeah.
or the blue flame award for lifetime achievement. The flamer.
While you were talking about Hank of the Hill, I thought of another episode, and it's where he gets his new truck, and
it's the exact same truck as his old truck.
It's the exact same truck as his old truck, but he's like driving, and he gets like stuck in the mud, but then his 4-wheel drive works, and they try to make it this very emotional moment where Hank's probably had that truck since he was in high school.
Yeah, and it's given me 20 years of reliable service.
When did Lady Bird die in Hank of the Hill?
In one of the last 2 seasons, but even the last 2 seasons, like Tom Petty voiced voiced Lucky, that what you couldn't do now.
R.I.P.
That's a Tom Petty's dead joke.
oh God,
we're not making a Luann joke then.
Well, yeah,
because we can't have
Luann because Brittany Murphy's dead. That's a Brittany Murphy's dead joke.
I didn't realize that was Brittany Murphy.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Yeah. She's but I talked about the stupid subtle humor. One of my favorite quotes is Hank and Peggy's mom lives in Montana. They're going there for Thanksgiving, and Hank talks about how much he hates rodeo clowns. She said, one of my uncles was a rodeo clown, Hank, and he was like, oh no, not Uncle Boppo. It's so stupid. Obviously, Uncle Boppo is some sort of clown. Not Uncle Boppo. It's so dumb.
Not Uncle Boppo.
Yeah, exactly.
Damn it, Bobby.
But I found it so relatable because Hank is so distant and not able to have a relationship with Bobby, and I can relate to that. So it was funny in 1998, and I still enjoy watching them, the 21-minute episodes, pump through them, a couple in an hour, just to have just mindless, stupid TV on, and it's just so incredibly funny to me. So that is why it is my number 2. I'm sorry to talk for 5 minutes, but I adore it. So before we do our number 1s, let's do our honorable mentions. Keiquan, what is on your honorable mention list?
So, on my honorable mention, first off, I just have to say Boondocks. That is.
I have not.
Oh man,
He was talking about it beforehand.
I love the Boondocks.
I don't know that I even know what the Boondocks is.
I can't explain it to you.
What I don't even know what
Keiquan
it's on.
can explain
I don't know
it
what
to
it's
you.
on. Like,
It was on Adult Swim.
It was on
Gotcha.
Adult Swim. It actually started off as a comic book strip or a comic strip. It used to be in like the Sunday papers. Can't remember the original artist, but
Gotcha.
it's basically two brothers, and they live with their grandpa. And it is my cup of tea. I will have to put you up on
So
the game.
it essentially these kids living in the ghetto, and they live with their grandpa.
Gotcha.
And
They're from the ghetto, but they're no longer in the ghetto.
I guess that's true. I've only seen like 2 episodes, and I watched them both with you, so it wasn't like the introductory episodes. But their grandpa is ridiculous.
Oh man,
We're gonna have to cover it in the reaction show, I think.
All right, yeah, I was going to say we're running long here. Anything else on your honorable mentions?
yes,
Keiquan?
actually, my other one that I would like to also shout out. Shout out Archer. I love Archer. H. John Benjamin. I also would like to shout out, technically, I think it's considered an adult cartoon, even though originally it wasn't, Samurai Jack.
Samurai Jack counts.
Love Samurai Jack.
Didn't like Samurai Jack.
Loved it.
Don's like, it counts, but it's stupid and I hate it. Don, anything on your honorable mentions?
Yeah, so I've got Family Guy on my honorable mention. It didn't start out that way, but it just kind of slowly dropped down the list. And honestly, I didn't know that my number one was my number one till that's where it ended up. I've also got Robot Chicken on my honorable mention and American Dad on my honorable mention. And the one thing that I wanted to say also was I put Space Ghost Coast to Coast on here, which was like 1994 cartoon, and it was on super late at night. And I remember enjoying it back then, and I've wanted to find it to go back and watch it now. But it's essentially, Space Ghost was an old Hanna-Barbera cartoon, and it did not last very long, where he was a superhero. But in this show, he's like in his 40s, and he's retired now, and so he hosts a late-night talk show host. And it's all in cartoon. And then, but he's interviewing like Hulk Hogan and all of these athletes and celebrities from Earth, live from space or whatever.
Gotcha.
And I remember it being funny then, and I can only imagine how funny it would be now with like a fully formed brain and like kind of getting the jokes.
Getting adult humor.
Yes.
See, I remember like whenever that would come on, that was like a key.
Time to go to bed.
Yeah, like I remember like trying to like stick up and be like, I'm gonna watch it and be like, I don't understand any of this.
That was the same thing for me with like Squidbillies and Aqua Teen Hunger Force. When those came on, that was like that. Okay, bedtime.
Yeah, Aqua Teen Hunger Force is not my
Some of
thing.
the episodes were really
I
funny.
used to
My
think
thing.
that was funny, like the first 3 or 4 I ever watched, and then it's just like not my
It doesn't do it for you.
Absolutely not my cup of tea.
like metal,
Metalocalypse.
which just got canceled. That word.
Anything else on your list, Don?
That's it.
Okay. So I'll my honorable mention. I had Rick and Morty I mentioned earlier.
Gotcha.
I just almost strictly because I haven't watched enough of it to
So good.
have it bump anything else. So my number one is The Simpsons. It was not an adult cartoon for me when I was a kid. I think our parents thought that since it was a cartoon, it was
Right.
like Blue's Clues or Dora the Explorer and Bob the Builder is now. And I probably should not have been watching that when I was 5 and 6 years old. But it's so inherently funny, and it's been around for 32 years. And even today, every once in a while, an episode is really, really good, or they've got just a really funny bit.
Isn't it Manny instead of Bob the Builder?
I'm not certain that is germane to the conversation right now.
What did he say?
Didn't Bob the Builder get replaced by like Manny?
I'm not sure, but
I don't actually
Who
know.
did Dora get replaced by?
The dude. I can't think. It was like her cousin or something. I can't think of his
He was in the
name.
movie. You watched the movie,
Diego.
Garrett. Diego.
Go, Diego, go.
Okay. Go ahead, Garrett.
like all the times you just start dropping in 2000s
Hey,
Nickelodeons.
you brought him up.
It's not my fault you got ADHD. But The Simpsons is my number one. It's just had great staying power, and the first, even 13 seasons are really, really, really funny. Even if you think it's fallen off a cliff since then, it's still 13 years.
So
great comedy. So that's my number one.
I never really liked The Simpsons. I watched a bunch of The Simpsons, and it was kind of hit or miss with me, kind of depending on the mood I was in or the year. I haven't really watched The Simpsons in 5 or 6 years, but I like The Simpsons movie.
That's good.
One of my favorite scenes from The Simpsons, though, it was the 2008 presidential election, and they were doing the electronic voting, and Homer goes up to vote, and he's like, he clicks the screen, and it goes, 1 vote for John McCain. He goes, no, silly machine. I wanted to vote for Obama. And he clicks it again, and it goes, 2 votes for John McCain. He goes, no, clicks it, 3 votes for President John McCain. He goes, no, and he just starts hammering the screen. It goes, 70 votes for John McCain. No, I only wanted 1 of those votes for John McCain. And then he starts getting sucked into the voting booth. He's like, this kind of stuff doesn't happen in America. Maybe Ohio, but not America.
America. But like even so, before we started this episode, I was wearing headphones, and my wife walked in the room, and she went to say something, and I said, "You'll have to speak up. I'm wearing a towel," and that's the Simpson. That joke is ridiculous because he's at work, he runs through the office, and was taking a shower, is standing there in a towel, answers the phone, and says, "Hello, you'll have to speak up. I'm wearing a towel." Well, what the hell does that have to do with anything? But there's so many different, like, there's slapstick of, Homer getting, falling down the Springfield Gorge is funny, or just other, like, different styles of humor that they don't just rely on one. That, like, I think Family Guy gets really formulaic after a while. That if once you watch like 4 episodes, you're like, all right, I don't need to watch this again for another 6 months. I know exactly where your jokes are going. And with The Simpsons, I don't feel that way, at least.
I feel like The Simpsons have great video games, too.
Oh, they were phenomenal.
Do you remember, like, Simpsons Hit and Run is fantastic.
Great. And
is that the one that you could do at, like, the dam?
You could drive the car and jump through
it's basically Grand Theft Auto, but The Simpsons.
I think it was like their go-kart game was the one I was thinking of.
But like on Hit and Run, like each holiday had its own special car. So if you fired it up on Halloween, there was a special Halloween car, and like it was.
Do you remember the arcade game where like
we played that at PAX?
Marge, she uses a vacuum. Like I remember playing this as a kid.
So it was like a side-scrolling fighting game, like Street Fighter.
Okay, I know.
You were the
Simpsons.
Yeah, like Ninja Turtles.
And Bart had his skateboard. Lisa had her jump rope. Like
I got it.
Great.
So that's my number 1. Keiquan, what about you?
So for me, with my list, this one was actually originally in my honorable mentions. I thought I had outgrown it. And then, like, the more I started thinking about it, I'm just like, it's what got me into, like, a different type of humor, as far as, like, what you watched when you were kids. Because I was very sheltered, like, technically as a child. My parents were like, we're not watching that.
We're not watching that junk.
But for me, it is South Park. There's the show that my twin brother was the first to, like, get into it, like I mentioned earlier. And went down that rabbit hole. Got my my childhood best friend, who was also very sheltered, homeschooled his entire life. Went down that rabbit hole as well. And it was just like, I don't know. Even though, like, some of it is just, like, ridiculous, it's now still, when you catch an episode, like, it's
got laugh
out
loud.
It's like a time machine, man.
Big man, I want you to come on now.
You've watched it for so long that, like, it's still...
No, Kitty, this is my pie. No, Kitty, it's a bad Kitty.
Like,
Mom, Kitty's being a dildo. Well, I know a certain kitty who's sleeping with Mommy tonight.
Think about just like the original episodes had like Kenny getting killed all the time.
Kenny,
like, damn, you killed Kenny, you bastards! Like, I don't think they kill Kenny anymore. But like, but I remember looking forward to like, I wonder how Kenny's gonna die this time.
Yeah.
I just
it was like a cultural phenomenon at the time.
So they did like Mysterion, like when they all became superheroes and stuff.
Keiquan and friends.
And
Keiquan.
Kenny died in that episode, and then like was alive later that episode, like the next day. He died, and then like he went to his friends, and it turns out like you finally see like him dying, like what happens in the aftermath. And according to Kenny's memory, he died, but according to everybody else, he just like got scared and ran away. And so then that whole episode like freaked him out psychologically. But that's around the time that I kind of stopped watching South Park, was about 3 years ago, and not for really any reason other than I don't have cable anymore.
It was around the Stick of Truth video game came out. It was around the time I stopped watching it myself.
So that's Keiquan's number one. Don?
So my number one, Keiquan brought up briefly, gave him the stink eye, it's Futurama. And I didn't know it until I started writing everything down and realized it's like, Futurama is just such a good show. Like, I thoroughly enjoy the humor in Futurama. And one thing that I brought up about South Park was like the Chewbacca defense. Mm-hmm. One thing in Futurama was in an episode, they came up with their own mathematical formula to like describe something happening in the show. Because like one of the co-writers has like a PhD in math. And they're like, hey, we need to figure out like how many different ways can these 7 people swap bodies before they get back to their own? He's like, oh, well, let's figure that out. And came up with like this theorem that is a legit mathematical theorem to figure that out that he created for the episode of Futurama.
That's when you just know you're smart man.
And outside of even the funny parts of Futurama, I was looking on IMDb, and their top 2 rated episodes are tearjerkers. So the one is where Fry finds the fossil of his dog, which is just
immediately.
It really, like, every time I watch it, I'll cry. Like, it's worse than the beginning of Up, because like he goes through. I'm gonna give you a spoiler for it.
That's fine.
They find like the fossil of his dog, because first episode he gets frozen, gets woken up 1,000 years later, so they're in the future. Well, they're like exploring the remains of old New York, because they just built New York right over the top of old New York. So they're like down in the sewer system and are going through old New York, and they find a fossil of a dog, and Fry's like, oh my God, this is my dog. And then they flash back to like him playing with his dog and all this stuff, and they're like gonna bring his dog back to life. And right before they bring him back to life, the professor's like, oh, looks like he was 17 years old when he died. Fry's like, well, I got him when I left, he was 6. So he lived like a full life after I left. And he's like, well, since he lived a full life, he probably wouldn't even remember me anyway. And I'm not going to like bring him back. But then they flash forward to like when Fry disappears, and his dog essentially sits outside the pizza shop that he worked at until he dies. Like waiting for Fry to come back. It's very sad. And the song they play is super sad.
It is sad.
The other top rated one is the one where Fry finds his like 5-leaf clover or whatever it is, and then like goes grave robbing his great nephew to get the 4-leaf clover back or 5-leaf clover back, and then they flash back to how that all happened too. And that was also a very sad one. So I've got Futurama at 1. Not only for the funnies, but for the
feels.
saddies.
For the feels.
It's a great cast of characters too.
We can talk about that in the reaction show.
So those our favorite adult cartoons. We'll talk about some XXX cartoons in the reaction show.
Oh God, will we?
Are we?
What else do you guys want to talk about? No, yeah, maybe. I don't know.
Snitching.
Who knows where that goes?
It's unfiltered, unrated.
It's full frontal.
Bigger,
full
longer,
frontal.
uncut.
Shorter, slimmer, cut.
Boot cut.
Long
Gene
cut.
cut.
So that'll do it. Keiquan is on Twitter at YepIt'sKeys. Thank you for joining us, Keiquan.
It's always a pleasure.
Don is at Donnie_G.
Occasionally a pleasure.
Thank you. I'm at Garrett Seawright, and you can find the podcast at Rankum Podcast, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, or wherever it is you listen to your podcast. Leave us a 5-star review. Maybe we'll read it for you right here on the next episode of the Rankum Podcast.